Welcome to the Lift and Glow Fitness podcast, where we help women look and feel better by building healthy, sustainable habits that last. Today, I'm with Charlotte and Lois, and we're talking about women's hormones. We talk about how your hormones don't need to keep you stuck, and we share some tips for helping you manage your hormones. Make sure to like and subscribe so that you don't miss any future episodes from us. Let's talk about hormones. I feel like hormones is a hot topic, especially for women. We are seeing a lot of stuff about hormones on Instagram, TikTok, all over the place and I just feel like it's very confusing. And there's like a lot of women jumping on this, blaming hormones or seeing hormones as a reason why they're stuck or why they can't reach their goals. So whether it's perimenopause, PCOS, like even, my algorithm, it's fertility, infertility. There's a lot of like hormone talk. So I thought it would be good for us to speak about. And so let's start with using hormones as like an excuse for staying stuck. Mm-hmm. So obviously, Lois, you struggle with PCOS or have been diagnosed with PCOS?
So since the age of about 16, I was struggling with like gynae issues, which I later got diagnosed as PCOS. I sort of knew I had it for a long time, but I'm quite lucky as a coach that I have, been endowed with the knowledge throughout my journey to be able to know a lot about my own hormones. But what you've just said in the intro there about how not a lot of people know about it enough and so use it as an excuse sometimes is quite relevant, because from my personal experience, like hormones can be freaking tough. Like when it comes to like my training, my nutrition, cravings, insulin resistance, there is a lot to it. However, the simple, calories in, calories out argument, it does work, yes. But there are nuances to it when it comes to hormones. But just on a bigger picture, I would probably say that there's a lot of women that I've spoken to who maybe go, oh, well, I've got PCOS as well, and that's why I can't lose fat. But I'm here to tell you, as a coach, someone who deals with myself with PCOS and now more women with that's not the case. Mm-hmm. So you can't directly blame your PCOS for fat loss. Sure, it might make it a little bit more complicated, but there are a lot more nuances to it. So like you've said, it's not always just listening to like someone tell you on Instagram, your PCOS is why you can't lose weight. Here's why. Like, this is why you need to eat this seed. Like,
your metabolism has,
failed you.
You've got to eat 1,200 calories and
like I've lost weight and I've put weight. So I do. It is possible. Is the short answer to that. But of course, we'll go into that in a moment.
I think a lot of women see hormones as a reason to not do the thing. So you get given this label of, I've got PCOS, I'm in the perimenopause, even endometriosis. I know the symptoms of endometriosis can make it very difficult to like do what you need to do. Or even just as simple as I'm due on my period. That can actually stop people doing what they need to do to help them feel better. And it can keep them stuck. So the amount of clients I've had, so even a client who I've recently worked with over the last 6 weeks, we've completely transformed what she eats. But when we started working together, the thing that she said was, I just can't control myself around my period. I can't get to the gym and I can't stop eating sugar. And I'm like, but you're telling yourself that. Yeah. So the hormones, I'm not denying that they have an impact, because they do. Mm-hmm. But you don't have to act in any different way because of those hormones. Like I struggle with like PMS, so I don't feel like going to the gym, don't feel like eating healthy foods. I want to eat cheese, I want to eat chocolate. I don't want to prepare a meal. I cannot be fucking arsed. I'm angry, I'm agitated. I don't want to. But that hasn't actually ever physically stopped me from doing it. Obviously, mentally it can stop me from doing it, but I can still do the thing. Even when I feel like I can't be bothered, even when I feel zonked, I can still feed myself. I can still go for a walk. And so I don't think that we need to I don't think we should be blaming hormones and letting them keep us stuck, because wherever you are, there is something that you can do. And I think a lot of the time people will make hormonal symptoms worse with how they act. So like I know if I'm feeling not great because I'm due on my period and all I do is eat chocolate and I hide under a blanket, I don't feel any better. No. Whereas if I'm feeling a little bit grim because I'm due on and I feed myself good food anyway and I get myself out for that walk, those hormones all of a sudden feel
And the
blessed.
symptoms
better.
improve.
Yeah,
exactly.
the symptoms improve. And I had a lot of difficulty with my menstrual cycle, and I actually didn't realize I had issues with my menstrual cycle until I really started looking into it. And, you know, I had extreme PMS, extreme period pains, and like symptoms that weren't normal, but I thought were. And I didn't realize that by like what I was eating and what I was doing was making those symptoms worse. And by just doing simple things, it's all much easier to deal with now.
So like I've recently talked to a client about this. It was only yesterday actually, because she's an online client of mine and she's currently on a program in which she's programmed to 3 strength sessions per week, because she's also got a running plan outside of that. So that balance is absolutely fine for her on, you know, a surface level. However, she was finding that when she was coming to those tougher weeks, maybe PMS was kicking in, you know, her hormones were fluctuating throughout the month. She was really struggling with like hunger levels. Again, running comes into that a little bit because she's increased her cardio, etc. And she actually asked me a little bit. She was like, I don't know enough about my hormones to actually like what to change to help me with this. So I said, well, what would be more useful to ask yourself isn't what, you know, what the facts are about the hormones, it's how does it affect you? So my first like piece of advice for anyone watching this would be to have a little diary and note down your particular emotions, cravings, symptoms, energy levels.
Or just do it on an app.
Or
like
on an app. Flow is
Yeah.
really good actually, because I do that and it's really handy. And so I know, for example, that my bleed, my day 1 to 7, because I have quite a long period, is I actually have like more energy than on my late luteal phase.
Yeah.
So she was actually, so I was telling her about this, the phases of the cycle, about the follicular, about ovulation, and then coming into luteal and late luteal phase. And then I told her about how hunger levels can vary, maybe where we need to adjust calories within that. But I said, ultimately, Shan, this comes down to you. So if you tell me that your late luteal phase, you only really feel hungry for 3 days before your period, that's different for me because I'm about 10 days. So I think what's more useful for women isn't just listening to random advice on the internet. It's, you know, maybe get an app, record your own symptoms to begin with, understand yourself a bit more to then be able to feed into the narrative of I've got PCOS or I've got this. Like, do you know what I mean? Don't just give yourself the label and live by it.
Yeah.
Understand you
Your
and
specific.
and not just the science. Like, read yourself a little bit first.
Yeah, even if you don't have like any specific, say if you've just got like a regular menstrual cycle and there's nothing like endometriosis, perimenopause or PCOS, any of those factors, you just have a regular cycle, your cycle will be totally different to somebody else's. And like, so we have some people who come in around ovulation who are wiped out, and then other women who come in around ovulation who are like super women. And I'm like, whoa, you know, like, and so everyone feels different. And sometimes it can vary from cycle to cycle, but it's definitely different from person to person. So I can't bear these like cycle syncing programs or these like cycle syncing diets even, because I think when it comes to training, we should be listening to our body. We should be pushing ourselves, of course, but we should also know how to listen to our body. So if you are completely wiped out with energy, don't put yourself through a half marathon like just to train, you know, or, you know, maybe take it back and do a slow run. Or if you're, you know, in the gym, lift lighter because you're completely wiped out. But for you, that could be around ovulation. It could be before your periods. It could be both. And so you just need to listen to, it's more about how you feel
Intuition,
in the day to
like
day.
tuning in.
Yeah. And then when it comes to nutrition, I don't believe in changing your food all the way through the month. I think that we should be showing up and fueling ourselves every day, even when we feel hormonal, even if we're feeling low mood. I think your food has a huge impact in how you will feel
And
with
that's
your
the
hormones.
first step, isn't it? I feel like too many people who don't have any clue about like nutrition or fitness or themselves for that matter, and how to lose fat or how to maintain or gain muscle, whatever, then see something on Instagram that's like a million miles from where they are in their knowledge and jump to that, like seed cycling, eating different foods at different times of the month. And I think the first thing you should do is foundation level. Eat good all month round. Do you know what I mean? Don't have to eat a specific food just because you're coming on your period. So I think that like too many people jump on the bandwagon of things because they're easily influenced maybe, or maybe it's just a real longing to do better, but they jump the gun and they jump ahead instead of just focusing on like the base level. Okay, simple things, steps, liquid. Do you know what I mean? Like just do
Protein.
your basics, and
Yeah.
then maybe you can think about what suits you at different phases too.
I think that it all overcomplicates it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be, I'm sorry, I'm busy, I'm up the wall, I've got a million different things to think about. I don't want to be thinking about eating different foods at a different time of the month. Like, I think that there are staple things that you can do to take care of your health, which therefore takes care of your hormones.
Yeah.
So eating protein with every meal would be one of them. Thing that made I feel like people aren't like latching onto this as much as they should be, because I didn't latch onto it initially, but I don't have any PMS symptoms at all, don't have any period pains, because now I eat before coffee, like food before coffee.
Yeah.
That was a huge
Simple
thing.
hack.
Just
Yeah.
really, really simple. Food before coffee. And like, so food before coffee, enough protein, enough fruit and veg, enough water, and just strength training. If you do those things, no matter where you're at, it will help.
Something will improve.
If you have endometriosis, it will help. If you have PCOS, it will help. Perimenopausal, it'll help. Like, if you're just someone who struggles with PMS or you have PMDD, those things will help. But they are the pillars of health. They are like the foundations of what you need to do for health. It's not like looking for more, like, don't be looking for supplements and tonics and like this
magic pills.
Or like this way of cycle syncing. Do the basics first. So what would you say, like, PCOS is something that I would say women think they're stuck.
Yeah.
And then I've had a lot of clients with PCOS on 1,200 calorie diets because they've been told that their metabolism is super low.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your, having experienced it and working with women, what's your thoughts on that?
So a lot of it comes down at its root cause to your metabolism. So like your it's a metabolic syndrome, like at its root. So yes, there's a lot of things that can be like influencing it, like hormonally. So we have elevated levels of testosterone, maybe, for example, so higher levels of androgens. That might be more present in some PCOS sufferers than others as well. So again, not everybody. I do have that because I experience things like hair growth on my chin, my lip, like my lower belly, and it's a lot of upkeep, but in the same breath, that's why I'm aware of it. But what I'd say about like the stuck situation is because I fell into some of these traps as well. You've got to hold your hands up and say, you look at things online, and I think it's in a bit of a desperation. So you sort of think, oh my God, like I've got this illness. Such and such claims to know a lot about it. She's telling me to eat these seeds on this phase, these seeds on this phase. And I did fall a little bit into that at first. And this was years ago. This was like when I first found out I had it. But now I've learned, and I have my periods back. So like this is the result of all the hard work I'm doing now. I have my periods back regular, or more regular than what they were. They were completely irregular. I rarely miss periods, and I have I still have PMS symptoms, and I won't lie, I do get a lot of pain, but it's a lot less than what it used to be. So, and I've lost fat in the process of doing all this. So what I would probably say to those who think they're stuck is try your best not to kind of read too heavily into it. And as you've just said, it's like the basic pillars can help the most. So for me now, I was doing the most. I was like seed cycling, training all the time, trying to be a healthy weight, because a lot of doctors will tell you that you're overweight if you have PCOS, and the two aren't always interlinked.
No.
So it's like you try and do the most. However, I was making the symptoms worse by overtraining, under eating, or eating mad foods that maybe I should have just been focusing on whole meals. And I think that's the first piece of advice. You're not stuck. You might just be over stressing yourself out doing the wrong things.
Yeah.
So maybe just seek advice from not someone who's like claiming to know the ins and outs of it, but it takes one to know one. So maybe you've got a friend who's got it, or a family member, or a coach that you know. Have a chat with them first, see if they've got any likewise symptoms, and then discuss from there. But yeah, you don't have to overhaul your life with it like you would think.
Yeah, I think that as well, like the metabolism, like the need in the lower calories, it's a small amount. It's not like you have to then under eat. You have to eat under 1,000 calories. You might have a slight adjustment to your calories, but it's not. You don't need to starve yourself, and in fact, that's going to cause more stress on the body, and then disrupt your menstrual cycle and your hormones even further. You touched on stress, which isn't something that I mentioned, but I actually think that that's like it's completely people are not focusing on it enough. Like if you have really bad PMS, if you're struggling with like infertility, like if you have the, endometriosis, perimenopause, PCOS, any of these things, stress is like a huge factor that can impact all of those issues. And like overtraining is one of them. Obviously we all exercise and we love to exercise, but you can do too much of it. And when you're dieting, you can go too far with it. Like those things are stressful on the body. And so if you start getting like, I know one of the girls training for a half marathon missed the period, and like that stress therefore causes that. So when you're doing too much, your menstrual cycle will respond and it will let you know. I know that like last year and the year before, when I was really like struggling trying to improve my menstrual cycle, I felt the difference when I drank alcohol. I felt the difference when I had really stressful months. I could tell the difference. I'm like, this is like another vital sign that I've got that's like telling me, right, you're doing too much, or your nutrition isn't where it needs to be. So like we need to like work with the hormones rather than being like, that affects us in a negative way. We need to be like, it's showing us what we need to do better at and how like that we could improve.
Yeah. Like the hormone, like the issues that emerge, PCOS, endo, bad PMS symptoms, like anything that is like a resultant thing is actually a symptom of what's beneath the surface. So like you've just said, like PCOS like is like beneath the level, you could be beneath that, you could be overstressed, under fueling. So it's like really the label is just a symptom. Like no, it's not like it's not an end. It's not like you're ruined, you're stuck. You can resolve that by going beneath the surface and going, what are the actual like impacting factors? Like that's just a symptom of the factors beneath.
I think a lot of people think they need to heal the hormones. So they think my hormones are broken, I need to heal them. When you don't actually need to focus on the hormones, you need to focus on your actions and having healthy habits. So if you take care of your health, your hormones take care of themselves. And like it looks different for everyone. So if you have been diagnosed with PCOS, you probably need to focus on things a little bit more than others. And if you are in the perimenopause, you've got things that are difficult, like sleep disruption, and there's challenges within it all. But the basics are exercise, strength train, eat your protein, eat your fruit and veg, try and not stress, try not to drink too much alcohol, and get good sleep. And like it always comes down to that. If you want to be healthy, whether you have hormonal issues or not, it always comes down to those things. One thing I wanted to speak about was cortisol.
The buzzword.
I feel like you've spoken about this so much on your story.
I spoke about cortisol the other day on TikTok and Instagram because I just feel like it's Courtney Black.
Yeah, it's everywhere at the moment, isn't it?
Why is every post talk about cortisol?
It's a buzzword, isn't it? I feel like you could probably type in on like ChatGPT what's one of the most commonly searched things now, and cortisol. It's probably that. So people probably
cortisol,
jump on that and
face,
go,
cortisol belly, cortisol this, like I couldn't lose weight because of cortisol and all of that. And I thought it needed a mention because it is another hormone.
It's another label as well, though, isn't it? It's just another
thing that
excuse that people can give themselves. Again, you don't dispute that cortisol's a real thing. By the way, like we all know that as coaches,
and we all have it, and it's normal. It's necessary.
You need cortisol to survive, and like we need like that small level of stress. But I think people are sort of again jumping on it to go, this is why you've gained weight. Now you're over consuming and you're under like working. So that's the answer to it. But I think people just want an answer.
Like to blame.
Yes, exactly. So you can't blame, and I think that's like where I'm trying to get at with all of this is that you can't blame your PCOS, you can't blame infertility, you can't blame perimenopause, you can't blame cortisol, you can't blame any of these things. You've got to look at how you're taking care of yourself. Like you've got to look at like what are you doing each day. If you feel down and all you do is eat sugar for 5 days, but then you have terrible PMS like a few weeks later, it's like, well, you're not actually helping yourself. If your diet's bad and your hormones are reacting to that, then what do you expect? You can't feed your body shit and hardly exercise and then expect to feel good. Your hormones are just reacting to what you're giving it. And like when it comes to cortisol, like I don't think that we should even really be thinking or talking about cortisol. I think that like cortisol's it's natural. We have cortisol increases throughout the day, and obviously some people are too stressed in life, but you don't need to focus on cortisol and reducing your cortisol. You need to get better at managing your stress.
Exactly, yeah.
That's the actual
That's the layman's
solution.
terms to it,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
People focus on the label, and I think what cortisol is basically is just another symptom. It's a symptom of your lifestyle that's not working out for you right now.
Yeah. So if you're trying to blame cortisol, it's like, well, no, that's just kind of you might feel like cortisol is the issue, but it's not. It's your habits. It always just comes back to what you're doing.
Yeah.
What are you actually doing? Are you actually taking care of yourself? So if you're struggling with any of these things, like I had to have a really long, hard word with myself with the whole infertility thing and trying for a baby and it not happening. I had to be like, are you actually, because I was like, I'm healthy, I'm fit.
Yeah.
So what's going on? But I had to have like a really long, hard look at what I was doing, and I could have done, I should have done better. I wasn't doing my best. I was too stressed. I was overworked. I was not sleeping enough. I was not fueling myself. I was eating my emotions, constantly eating my emotions, which then affected everything else. And so it's like, you have to have like a realistic look at what you're doing and say, am I actually doing what
So
what I should
cortisol
be doing?
probably was high in your body at the time.
100%.
But again,
There is no doubt about
but then
it.
again, you just then have to
cortisol was through the
So
roof.
Exactly. But then when you take away the pressures that you were probably putting on yourself now, well, and then look at the realism of your day to day now and how much better you're doing with your training, your eating, like, and you took off all that pressure, the stress naturally comes down. And again, it just comes down to your habits, doesn't it?
It came down to self-care.
Yeah.
I wasn't sleeping enough and I had to sort that out. I was surviving off caffeine, had to sort that out. Had days where I would survive off sugar because of my emotions, had to sort that out. And like all these things that like everyone listening has probably struggled with, we all have as well. You know, we have days where we don't want to take care of ourselves, but it always helps you when you do. And like, you know, not your menstrual cycle shows it does. Your hormones and your menstrual cycle, they show you signs of like what you're doing and how you're taking care of yourself, and it comes out in different ways. And just because you know are active and go to the gym doesn't mean that you necessarily everything's the way it should be. It's like, and I used to, because it was all a big emotional process as well, so I used to use it as an excuse. So it'd be like, oh, I'm not feeling great because of come on or whatever, or no, I'm going to come on, and then that would just be emotional eating, skipping workouts, and it's like big vicious cycle that keeps you stuck even further. So I think that it doesn't matter where you are, what you're struggling with. It's down to your habits. It's down to how you are actually looking after yourself. And I think that eat well, sleep well, manage your stress, and move your body. And if you are not doing those things, that's where you should be focusing on. Don't be like giving yourself ways out, giving yourself excuses to not do the thing. If your priority is feeling good, you have to do those things. They are the basics.
It's like a bit of a spiritual way to look at it, but like however your outward world is, your external world is a direct reflection of how your inner world is. So like you've just said about the whole reflection of your hormones to what your lifestyle was at the time, it's just one big picture. So instead of being stuck by your PCOS, stuck by your trouble conceiving, stuck with your endo, think of it as like almost a motivation to like, it's like again another conversation starter with yourself to go, what can I do better? Because again, it's like, that sounds really cruel, because at the time when I got diagnosed, I was like, it was like, oh, why me? But then when you have a little, give your head a wobble, a week later, I was like, what, like you've just said, I'm actually doing A, B, and C really wrong. And this is why it's happened. I'm overtraining, stressing the body. I'm under fueling. You know, me insulin resistance is probably worsened because of that. Or I'm eating loads of sugar from binge restricting. Hence my insulin resistance has gotten worse. So like it's like, it's a cruel to be kind situation, because you've got to have a conversation with yourself as a result of some of these labels.
It makes you look at what are you actually doing, and how you could be doing how you could be doing better. Let's just talk about perimenopause for a minute, because one of the things that constantly I hear is, I cannot lose weight because menopause. I cannot lose weight because perimenopause. What's our thoughts on that?
So I think, again, it's so similar to PCOS, and this is why I get a lot of people like asking me who are going through perimenopause and menopause, because they see the similarities themselves. I think a lot of it comes down to your comment before about, they're doing 1,200 calories and it's not quite working. There is a place for, in these hormonal imbalance issues, for sort of looking at reverse dieting. And I know that's a bit of a controversial topic as well for a lot of people, but it does look at maybe what you're doing wrong, because ultimately, if your insulin resistance is like on its arse, basically, because you've been eating like shit ton of sugar from binge restrict cycles, or you have like imbalances in your hormones, which can be the result of perimenopause, menopause, PCOS, like that does affect how you metabolize foods and how you metabolize those calories. So you may not even be doing any benefit to yourself by having like 800, 1,200 calories. You may be better
Build a
opting for, just go for maintenance for now. Again, like we said before, start with the basics. So don't jump into a calorie deficit that's going to kill you off and lead to you binging down the line, but rather look at healing the problems on the surface level. So for me, that looked like upping my calories. And as a result, I've actually done better in the gym and lost weight. So that's made my PCOS unstuck. So I do feel like there is space for reverse diet talk with perimenopause, and looking at like maybe putting calories up a little bit more than anything, to change mindset and maybe help a little bit with the likes of insulin resistance and, blood sugar and things like, where your hormonal fluctuations are as a female.
I feel like with perimenopause, I think that obviously the symptoms are difficult to manage. So the difficult symptoms, because of the huge fluctuations, you don't really know whether you're coming on. We know, because we're in tune with our bodies, when we're going to feel crap. And so we kind of can wake up and think, you know what, I'm not going to plan a long run this week because I know I'm due on Thursday, for example. Whereas in the perimenopause, it's very like up and down and sporadic. And so it's hard to it's hard to really think about how you're going to feel and planning things in and stuff like that. But also the symptoms are difficult, like night sweat, struggling with sleep, like insomnia, the itching, like all of these horrible things that make you want to comfort eat, that make you want to stay in bed, that make you want to drink alcohol. But skipping the workout, comfort eating, drinking the alcohol, those things actually make symptoms even worse. And then I think a huge worry for people with perimenopause is the metabolism falling off the edge of a cliff. Like women get to 40 and think, oh, my metabolism. People are saying it in the 30s, like your metabolism slowed down. The metabolic changes are so slight, like they're really, really slight. So if you've been told that you're perimenopausal, don't panic that your metabolism has just kind of dropped off. It's such a slight change, and it's like a small percentage each year. And that can be mitigated by building muscle.
Training.
Like if you lift weights, if you strength train, if you eat enough protein, eat enough food, get out of a diet and just focus on building a solid muscle, that'll counteract any metabolic problems. Like not all metabolic problems, but with the perimenopause, you're slowing down the slowing of the metabolism by building muscle. Muscle is like the key to having a strong, a fast metabolism, a strong metabolism. So like if you want to, be able to eat more, if you want to be able to feel good and fueled,
it's like freedom, isn't it? It's like, being more muscly obviously enables you to metabolize at a quicker rate, which then in turn allows you to eat the foods that you love more often. So I think it's like people worry too often, don't they, about like going to the gym and becoming bulky, but that's not necessarily the
Women
case. Unless you're obviously deliberately eating in a surplus and training like for years, because sad times, but it takes women a long time to gain muscle. We work a long time.
Tell my ass that it just does not grow. I want it to be bulky.
I was thinking before as we were walking up the stairs, I was thinking, oh, them jeans are a really nice fit.
These? I think
Your
bum must be filling them out.
I
think women are worried about muscle because women are worried about getting muscle, and they're worried about slow metabolism, and they don't realise that getting muscle is the reason, is one of the things that will speed up their metabolism. I had a conversation with Gemma a while ago, and like she just couldn't believe that she was 1.5 stone heavier now than what she was 2 years ago, but is wearing the same clothes. right? She just was like, what the fuck? Like, she
She's,
just
like,
couldn't
gained
believe
lean
it, yeah.
muscle.
And then back then, she was eating like 1,100 calories, 1,200 calories, like shrinking herself into oblivion. She just cared about the scales. She needed to be smaller, lighter, lighter, lighter. Now, she doesn't care about the scales. She's focused on like strength, muscle, and she's in the same dress size, but weighs 1.5 stone heavier. And I was like, have you noticed how you can eat a lot more food
Yeah.
and you still fit into those clothes? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, well, that's because you've got a better metabolism because you're heavier, obviously, so you can have more food to maintain that weight. But it's your muscle mass. You haven't got more fat. You've got more muscle. And like that, women are just fucking build muscle.
Yeah. We need a little t-shirt. I just feel like they just get so nervous around the words muscle. Like, and it's nothing to be scared of. Like, they just love the word toning and toning up. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't realise that's muscle.
That's muscle.
Yeah, sometimes you have to be like, it's mad, isn't it? Because when you're talking to a client,
You're speaking
you
their
might,
language.
You might type like muscle mass and then you go, oh, delete, because they might get scared about it. You shouldn't have to, but not everyone understands what you mean. But
I feel like when I'm writing Instagram posts, I write what I want to say and then change it to what people want to hear.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why am I talking about toning and sculpting when I just want to say build muscle?
But again, it's a
Quotation
conversation.
marks.
Yeah.
And it's and I think obviously I know for PCOS building muscles, brilliant.
Yeah.
For all hormones, like for women to be healthy, we need to have muscle.
Yeah.
And like body composition is a really important thing for hormone health. And you can have a high body fat percentage in a small body. And you can be in a heavier body and have a lower body fat percentage. And that all comes down to how much muscle you have.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just wrap this up then. Hormones. So obviously we know people struggle. Like if you have issues or not, there's struggles to be had like every month with your menstrual cycle. And then obviously there are things that make it even harder, like PCOS, endometriosis, perimenopause. There's all these things that can impact how you feel, but don't use those labels as an excuse and a way out. I think that we can still show up even when we feel shit. I am huge on that. And I've proved, like, I struggled with that when I was having a hard time. Whereas now I'm like, no, I know it always helps when you do the thing. And like,
just adapt to the thing. I feel like I am like on actually right now, TMI, but like I am. And like I'm still able to do the things that I did last week and the week before because again, I'm in tune with myself. And if I didn't want to do it, instead of not doing it, I might just adapt the session.
Yeah.
So like instead, like you said before, I've planned a long run, but I might just do 7 instead of 12k if I had that plan, you know what I mean? So it's just like, don't not do the thing, just tune into yourself and make yourself like, give yourself a little pat on the back for doing something is better than nothing, even with your hormones at play.
Everyone has hormones and everyone has hormone fluctuation and everyone in some way struggles with them, but that doesn't actually physically, I think actually, I'll take that back. I think women with endometriosis, it can physically stop you from leaving the house. Like, but you got to do your best in every day. And sometimes that does look different. Yeah. So your best one day looks like ticking all the boxes. Your best another day looks like ticking one of them. Looks like getting out and getting for a walk. You know what I mean? But I just really would encourage women to not blame hormones and use them as a reason to stay stuck, because I do think that there's a lot of that. It's, I've got this, I've got that, I'm here, you know, and they're blaming. It's like, that's why I can't get going. That's why and that actually causes them to take no action at all. Whereas taking
it's like confirmation bias, isn't it? You're confirming something that you're so vehement about because you're constantly telling yourself it.
Yeah.
So it's like you're only living that life because you're constantly telling yourself that you believe that.
I can't, like, it's like my client who was just speaking about, I can't stop eating sugar because I'm due on. Can't stop eating sugar. I'm like, no, you can.
Yeah. Switch the terminology, switch the mindset.
Yeah,
again,
actually can. And if you do, it will help. Like, these intense sugar cravings will stop. Like, so I was the same. I used to get crazy sugar cravings before my period, and I actually just don't even feel like it. And it's just because I stopped giving into them. Yeah. Like, you can still make really good choices.
And you probably eat better around it now. So it's just different choices you make day to day.
Yeah. I think on the whole, like, if you're struggling with your hormones, just go back to basics. Are you actually showing up for your health? Are you exercising? Are you eating well? Are you managing your stress? Are you sleeping? If you're not doing those things, start there. If you're still struggling after doing that for 3 months consistently, then, maybe dig in and see whether there's more to it. But before you start blaming them, like, are you actually doing the basics? Like, are you doing everything that you can? If you do have this label, or you feel like there's this thing that's getting in the way, then realize that it's not actually physically stopping you. It makes it harder. It makes it feel harder, but you can still show up for yourself.
Yeah.
I think there's like a saying, isn't there? You are what you do, not what you say.
Yes.
So like, it's just, don't believe all the thoughts that come into your head, do the actions, and then that's more telling of your character than it is to believe all the labels you put on yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Nice. Thanks, girls.